Chapter 2093. Aeon City. The Mu clan in a large hall. Mu Yang sat in the main seat with a gloomy expression. After half a month, his injuries had fully recovered, but his anger and murderous intent hadn't subsided in the slightest. Over the past half a month, the news of Mu Yang being brutally abused by Lu Ming had already spread throughout Aeon City and the entire Divine Fate land at the speed of a hurricane. Mu Yang was known as a seed expert, but he was beaten so miserably by a son of primal chaos who was only at the peak of the absolute saint realm. It was hard for him not to be noticed. Now, countless people were secretly discussing how Lu Ming had trampled on Mu Yang's face in public, and even used him as a hostage. He had become a laughingstock. Damn it, damn it. Mu Yang's face was twisted with murderous intent. Have you found out where that bastard is? Mu Yang coldly asked the person who had come to report to him. Young noble, we've found out. Lu Ming's group has already entered Destiny City. A burly man reported. Want to hide in Destiny City? Don't even think about it. Kill. Send people into Destiny City and kill that bastard. Mu Yang roared. Young noble, this isn't appropriate. A white-haired old man spoke. He was a powerful true emperor from the Mu clan. Why is it inappropriate? Mu Yang coldly asked. Right now, several powerful forces in Destiny City have given the order that no one is allowed to fight in Destiny City. Otherwise, we'll be making an enemy out of them. If we send people to fight in Destiny City, I'm afraid we'll offend them. The old man said. Although the Mu clan was a powerful overlord in Aeon City, there was still a gap between them and the other forces in Destiny City. The Mu clan didn't dare to offend the overlords of Destiny City either. Mu Yang's expression darkened. After a while he coldly said, we don't have to do it ourselves. Go find the people from the nation of death. Those lunatics will do anything as long as they're paid. Everyone's expression changed as a trace of fear flashed through their eyes. It was as if they were very afraid of the nation of death. The kingdom of the god of death in the Divine Fate land was indeed terrifying. That was because this was a terrifying assassin organization. There were all kinds of terrifying assassins. As long as you paid, you could kill any expert. Moreover, the Death God Nation loved to hunt down geniuses and experts. Their most glorious battle record was when they killed a great emperor, shocking the entire Divine Fate land. Some people even suspected that this Death God Nation was created by a foreign race. There were also powerful forces that wanted to eliminate this assassin organization, but this organization was too mysterious. No one knew where their headquarters were. At most, they could only eliminate some of their branches. They would always be able to rise from the ashes. Now Mu Yang wanted to ask the assassins of the Nation of Death to kill Lu Ming. Others might not dare to make a move in Destiny City, but the Nation of Death did. Lu Ming, if you offend me, only death awaits you, Mu Yang said coldly. Lu Ming had been in Destiny City for a month. Cultivating like this is still too slow. On this day, Lu Ming ended his cultivation and sighed. Now his law of primal chaos had reached a bottleneck. It was only a step away from perfection, and it seemed like it could be crossed at any time. However, this any time could be a few months, or it could be a year or two. It was hard to say. Some people were stuck for thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. Therefore, Lu Ming's main focus was now on the law of death and the law of devour. Following the improvement of these two laws, his battle prowess would also become stronger and stronger. However, even with the Azura's Eye, the improvement of the law of death was still too slow. Lu Ming wasn't satisfied. I heard that there's an ancient battlefield in Destiny City that contains powerful death chi and evil chi. Many people who cultivate evil chi will cultivate there. It's the most suitable place for the law of death to cultivate. Lu Ming pondered. He planned to go to that ancient battlefield to cultivate. There were still about 2 months before the Battle of the 10 Earths. Everyone was thinking of ways to improve their cultivation, because it was said that there would be great opportunities in the Battle of the 10 Earths. Only the strong could obtain them. Although Lu Ming was very strong now, there was always someone stronger. Who knew what other terrifying geniuses there were? Now, was there anyone who had broken through to the Martial Emperor realm? If there were powerful geniuses who had already entered the Martial Emperor realm, their strength would definitely be terrifying. Lu Ming felt a sense of urgency. He wanted to improve his strength as soon as possible. He said goodbye to Qiuyu, Long Chun, and Huangli, then left the inn and went to the ancient battlefield. The ancient battlefield was in the northern region of Destiny City. It was a battlefield left behind from ancient times. It was deathly silent and filled with death qi and evil qi. Lu Ming was as fast as lightning, but it still took him half a day to reach the ancient battlefield. This was a boundless great mountain, deathly still. As far as the eye could see, it was completely barren, without a single living creature. Lu Ming stepped in. The death qi is indeed dense. As soon as he entered the mountain, Lu Ming felt that the death qi here was very dense. It was very suitable for cultivating the law of death. Moreover, the deeper he went, the denser the death qi was. Lu Ming did not stop and went deeper. He also found other people in this battlefield. They were all people who cultivated evil cultivation methods or evil laws. Lu Ming went deeper and finally came to a short peak. He then sat down cross-legged and quietly comprehended the law of death. As expected, the speed of comprehending the law of death here was several times faster than outside. Every day, Lu Ming had great gains. 3 days later, Lu Ming's law of death reached about 88%. What Lu Ming did not know was that there was a group of people on a towering mountain outside the ancient battlefield. This group of people were all shrouded in black robes, and their faces could not be seen clearly. That kid is cultivating in that ancient battlefield. One of them reported to a person wearing a death god mask. Good, I heard that the kid is the son of chaos. If we kill him this time, it will definitely shake the divine fate land. The expert wearing the death god mask sneered and then ordered, "Wait a moment. Quickly kill that kid and leave this place. If we wait too long, I'm afraid that the experts of those forces will come here." Yes. Some of the black-robed people bowed and accepted the order. "Go, I will stand guard here. If the people of those forces come, I will inform you to evacuate immediately," the person wearing the death god mask said. Then the black-robed people flashed and left one after another. Lu Ming was cultivating when he suddenly felt his hair stand on end. A great fear was approaching. Not good. Chapter 2094. The moment Lu Ming's body shot out, a terrifying sword light slashed down from the sky towards the place where Lu Ming had been sitting, leaving a deep sword mark on the ground. The short mountain was also split in half. Martial Emperor. Lu Ming squinted his eyes. The person who had attacked was definitely a martial emperor. However, he should only be a 1-star martial emperor. Swoosh. Swoosh. At this moment, 2 sword lights flashed above and below Lu Ming. 2 sword lights, one above and one below, shot towards Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Boom. Lu Ming's sacred force circulated crazily as he quickly retreated, avoiding the 2 sword lights. Martial emperors, both of them are martial emperors. A few people appeared behind him. All of them were martial emperors. Your reaction is quite fast. A cold voice rang out. A few black-robed men appeared in the sky and surrounded Lu Ming. Who are you people? Lu Ming asked coldly. If the Grim Reaper wants you to die today, he won't let you live until tomorrow. One of the black-robed men said coldly. It's the Grim Reaper Nation. Run. There were also people cultivating in the area. When they heard those words, they were so frightened that they screamed and ran for their lives. Grim Reaper Nation. Lu Ming frowned. He had just arrived at the Divine Fate Land, and had never heard of it. Don't talk nonsense, let's end this quickly. One of the black-robed men said coldly. Swoosh. The black-robed men moved at an astonishing speed. A few beams of sword gleams charged toward Lu Ming at a terrifying speed. You are the ones who will die. Lu Ming no longer hid his strength. He unleashed his full strength and charged towards one of the black-robed men. Boom. He threw out a palm. His palm was gray, and it was like an ancient divine mountain pressing down. It directly shattered the sword light of the black-robed man. The terrifying palm force bombarded the black-robed man's body, directly tearing him apart. A 1-star martial emperor had been killed by Lu Ming in seconds. The other black-robed men were extremely shocked at this scene. No, his battle prowess doesn't match the information we received. A black-robed man roared. According to the information they received, Lu Ming's battle prowess was only slightly stronger than Mu Yang's. As a son of the void, Mu Yang had already begun to create a world. His battle prowess was sufficient to contend against a one-star martial emperor, and he could even suppress a one-star martial emperor. Although he was slightly stronger than Mu Yang, his battle prowess should not be much stronger. It was absolutely impossible for him to kill a one-star martial emperor in one move. Attack, attack together. One of the gang members roared. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, figures flickered in the sky. There were a total of 7 or 8 figures. In addition to the previous few, there were more than a dozen of them. Terrifying auras filled the air. They were all martial emperors and above. No matter how strong he is, he must die today. Kill! A black-robed man roared and slammed his palm down. A pitch-black palm print blasted towards Lu Ming. Its power was extremely terrifying. 3-star martial emperor. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. A 3-star martial emperor was simply too strong. Lu Ming did not dare to receive the attack head-on. Instead, he directly charged out. You want to leave? Get back. A black-robed man appeared in front. He held a pitch-black saber and slashed out. A vast saber light slashed at Lu Ming. This was also a 3-star martial emperor. At such a close distance, dodging was already impossible. Xiaochen could only receive the attack head-on. Lu Ming circulated his full power, and 4 laws erupted at the same time. Boom! Lu Ming blasted his palm on the saber gleam, emitting an earth-shattering boom. Lu Ming's body shook violently, and he was sent flying. The terrifying power caused Lu Ming to vomit a mouthful of blood. A 3-star martial emperor was too strong. Lu Ming was still not a match for him. Whoosh! Whoosh! After Lu Ming was sent flying, the other black-robed men charged at Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and death chi burst out of his eyes. One of the black-robed men was startled when the death chi enveloped him. Bang! Lu Ming rushed over and sent the person flying. In the process of retreating, the person's body cracked and broke into pieces. Lu Ming went all out. A 1-star foe emperor found it hard to block a single move from Lu Ming. The Death Law and the Primal Chaos Law. Heavens! How is this possible? 2 supreme laws. A monster. A demonic genius. Kill him. We must kill him. Lu Ming erupted with his full power. With 2 supreme laws circulating at the same time, he could not hide them and would reveal them. When those black-robed men saw that Lu Ming actually grasped 2 supreme laws, they were incomparably shocked. Some of them even roared in shock. A person, furthermore, one below martial emperor, actually grasped 2 supreme laws. This was simply unheard of and inconceivable. Kill! Lu Ming attacked continuously, targeting a 1-star martial emperor. He threw a palm strike, and that person exploded in the air. Boom! The other black-robed men also attacked together. There were a total of 2 3-star martial emperors, 4 2-star martial emperors, and 3 1-star martial emperors. Only 9 people remained. When 9 people attacked together, their combat prowess was too horrifying. Lu Ming's acupoints lit up. Several tens of holy armaments and a few imperial armaments hovered around him, forming the first line of defense. At the same time, the light of laws covered his body. 4 kinds of laws circulated throughout his body, forming the second line of defense. Whoosh! Lu Ming changed directions and charged into the depths of the ancient battlefield. Lu Ming did his best to avoid the attacks of the 2 3-star martial emperors. As for the other martial emperors, he could not avoid that many and could only take them head-on. Boom! Boom! Instantly, at least 5 attacks struck Lu Ming. 3 2-star martial emperors and 2 1-star martial emperors. The battle weapons hovering around Lu Ming exploded like fireworks. Absolute holy armaments could not block the attacks of martial emperors. In the end, only a few imperial armaments remained intact. Pooh! Lu Ming coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Although the attacks were blocked by the battle weapons, there were still powerful attacks that landed on his body. However, taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Ming arrived in front of a 1-star martial emperor. This 1-star martial emperor turned pale with fright. He wanted to flee but was killed in the air by Lu Ming's palm strike. Following that, Lu Ming jabbed out with his finger. A huge primal chaos tribulation finger formed and shot toward a 2-star martial emperor. This finger contained 4 kinds of laws. Its might was astonishingly strong. That 2-star martial emperor blocked with all his strength. However, he was still sent flying and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. The others were shocked and attacked even more frantically. A terrifying palm imprint and a saber light shot toward Lu Ming. The 2 3-star martial emperors attacked again. Lu Ming did his best to dodge. However, in the end he did not manage to dodge completely. He was struck by that palm imprint. The terrifying power nearly caused Lu Ming's body to crack. Lu Ming felt intense pain all over his body. He felt like his bones were about to break. He coughed up blood non-stop. However, he borrowed the power of that palm imprint to instantly arrive in front of that injured 2-star martial emperor. Chapter 2095. Boom. Lu Ming's palm trembled as he sent out several palm strikes. The terrifying palm energy directly tore apart his opponent's defense. With a miserable shriek, this 2-star martial emperor was torn apart by Lu Ming, dying miserably on the spot. The others sucked in a breath of cold air. Lu Ming's battle prowess was too terrifying, far surpassing the information they received. He could even kill a 2-star martial emperor. This was truly frightening. Kill. We must kill such a person even more. The Death God Nation's assassins revealed frenzied expressions. Now they no longer cared about how many origin stones Mu Yang gave them. They wanted to kill Lu Ming even more. The remaining assassins attacked with all their might, surrounding and attacking Lu Ming. Lu Ming roared as he circulated his death laws with all his might. The surrounding death qi continuously gathered, strengthening Lu Ming's offense and defense. In this ancient battlefield, the death laws could bring out their greatest might, far surpassing the usual. Hence, Lu Ming's battle prowess was stronger in this ancient battlefield than in other places. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming charged around, fighting the Death God Nation's experts. The ones that posed the greatest threat to him were the 2 3-star martial emperors. Although Lu Ming was strong now, able to kill 2-star martial emperors, he was still no match for 3-star martial emperors. After 10 odd moves, Lu Ming successfully killed another 1-star martial emperor. However, he was also struck by a 3-star martial emperor and 2 2-star illusionary emperors. Several horrifying wounds appeared on Lu Ming's body. Blood flowed out, and many of his bones were even broken. Fortunately, the death qi here was too dense, greatly increasing Lu Ming's defense. In the end, he managed to survive. Kill. Lu Ming went berserk. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his entire body was bathed in blood. He looked like a demonic god. Bang! Lu Ming sent a 2-star illusionary emperor flying, causing him to vomit large mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming took the opportunity to charge out of the encirclement and into the depths of the ancient battlefield. The death qi in the depths of the ancient battlefield was even denser, which was more advantageous for him. Send out the news. Get my lord to personally take action. A 3-star martial emperor roared as he chased Lu Ming relentlessly. This time, their losses were too heavy. Previously, they had thought that Lu Ming's combat power was only slightly stronger than an ordinary 1-star empty emperor, and not even stronger than a 2-star empty emperor. However, they had sent out 4 2-star empty emperors and 2 3-star empty emperors. It could be said that they were foolproof. However, Lu Ming's battle prowess was much stronger than he had imagined. Lu Ming had killed 4 or 5 people consecutively, but they had yet to kill Lu Ming. If this continued, Lu Ming might really be able to escape if he fled into the depths of the ancient battlefield. This was something they could not tolerate. Very few people that the Death God Kingdom wanted to kill were able to escape. As for the remaining people, they pursued Lu Ming with all their might. One of them had already spread the news. Bang! Lu Ming, who was running at top speed, was hit by a palm energy. This was the palm energy of a 3-star illusionary emperor, which was exceptionally powerful. Lu Ming was sent flying, his body in intense pain. However, Lu Ming's eyes were resolute as he moved forward at top speed. From the other party's roar just now, it was obvious that there were even stronger people nearby. Lu Ming could only escape into the depths of the ancient battlefield to have a chance to survive. Who wants to kill me? Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He did not know the people from the Death God Kingdom at all. Moreover, from the way these people attacked, it was obvious that they were assassins. Who was it that hired assassins to kill him? Mu Yang. Lu Ming thought of Mu Yang. It was most likely Mu Yang. Mu Yang, I will definitely kill you. Lu Ming's heart was filled with killing intent as he ran forward with all his might. During this process, Lu Ming's body squirmed and his injuries were rapidly recovering. Now his spirit body was too strong and his vitality was incomparably vigorous. Although he was severely injured, his recovery speed was also very shocking. The remaining assassins continued to chase and attack Lu Ming with all kinds of attacks. Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, but occasionally he would be hit by all kinds of attacks. Luckily, the death chi here was getting denser and denser. To Lu Ming, there were many benefits. His entire body was filled with death chi, forming an armor that covered his entire body. He controlled the death laws. The death chi was beneficial to him, but to others it was like a poison. When ordinary people faced the death chi would constantly corrode them. Chi. The remaining assassins had to use a portion of their strength to resist the invasion of the death chi. If you want to kill me, I will make you pay a price. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes were flickering with a crazed look. His body that was running suddenly stopped. Then with extreme speed, he pounced towards the back. Those assassins thought that Lu Ming was running for his life. Who would have thought that Lu Ming would suddenly turn around and attack? For a moment they were stunned. Although it was only for a moment, but to experts like them, a moment was enough to determine life and death. Bam! Lu Ming struck out with his palm, killing the last 1-star empty emperor. Then his body moved and attacked another 2-star empty emperor. At this moment, the 2-star empty emperor finally reacted. He activated the power of the realm and slashed out a terrifying sword light. Boom! Lu Ming struck out with his palm and directly dispersed the sword light. The terrifying palm force hit the 2-star empty emperor's body. The man screamed as his chest was penetrated. A big hole appeared and he was forced to retreat. How could Lu Ming let him escape? His body moved and he chased after him. You are courting death. Kill. The other assassins roared and attacked Lu Ming. Block. Lu Ming roared and controlled the remaining emperor weapons to block behind him. At the same time, endless death chi gathered and formed a thick wall of death behind Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored the attacks behind him and attacked the 2-star empty emperor with all his might. Bam! Bam! The 2-star empty emperor was already severely injured. Although he tried his best to block, he still could not block it. After a few moves, Lu Ming's palm struck his head. His head exploded like a watermelon and his body and soul were destroyed. The other assassins' attacks fell behind Lu Ming. A few emperor weapons vibrated and almost exploded. Cracks appeared on them, and the thick wall of death was also destroyed. All kinds of attacks landed on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body flew out like a cannonball and crashed into a mountain. However, in the next moment, the mountain rumbled and Lu Ming rushed out from the mountain and continued to rush into the depths of the ancient battlefield. Lu Ming coughed out blood. Fortunately, the emperor weapons and the wall of death had blocked most of the power. Otherwise, he would be in danger after being hit by so many attacks. Even so, he was still severely injured. Damn it! The remaining assassins were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. Lu Ming had killed another 2 of them. The loss was too great. They had suffered a great loss in this deal. However, as long as they could kill Lu Ming, it was worth it. They chased after Lu Ming and did not let him go. Suddenly, a terrifying sword light burst out from the sky and slashed towards Lu Ming. It was extremely terrifying, as if it was going to split the heavens and earth. It's coming. Chapter 2096. That sword light made Lu Ming's hair stand on end. That was definitely a terrifying expert. Definitely not an ordinary empty emperor. Peak empty emperor. Swoosh. Lu Ming displayed his extreme speed, his body constantly changing, like a bolt of lightning, extremely fast, trying his best to avoid the sword light. In the end, the sword light slashed down and Lu Ming dodged it. However, there were still aftershocks that swept Lu Ming. Lu Ming groaned, and his body flew far away. In the air, Lu Ming coughed up blood. When he was about to land, Lu Ming struck out a palm, and a palm force bombarded the ground. Lu Ming borrowed the force, and his body drifted forward faster. A peak void emperor was invincible. He was too powerful. He could kill Lu Ming in one move. Lu Ming could only escape, but it was a terrible crisis. Now no one could help him, and he could only rely on himself. In the sky, a black-robed man wearing a death mask appeared, and his body was filled with incomparable cold-killing intent. If one could see through the mask, they would definitely see that this person's face was cold and gloomy. He glanced around and saw the remaining assassins, and his eyes were about to spit fire. He had sent so many experts, all of whom were in the martial emperor realm, to assassinate a junior, who was still in the saint realm, but they could not kill him, and so many of his own people had died. If this spread out, it would be a great blow to the reputation of the Death Nation. Therefore Lu Ming must die. Swoosh! He slashed with his sword again, an array of sword gleam charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, but this time was even worse. The sword edge brushed past him, and his body was almost split in half. There was a 1-meter-long sword wound on his body, and it was so deep that his bones could be seen, and even his internal organs could be seen wriggling. However, Lu Ming did not stop, and he continued to rush forward. In front, there was a large pit, and it was covered with bones. It's here. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Kill. High up in the air, the expert wearing the death god mask saw that his 2 moves had failed to kill Lu Ming, and his killing intent became even colder. Endless sword light bloomed in his hand, and hundreds of sword lights appeared in the sky. Whoosh! Whoosh! Hundreds of sword lights, densely packed from all directions, pierced towards Lu Ming. Hundreds of sword lights had completely sealed off Lu Ming's escape route. This was a sure kill move, executed by a peak illusionary emperor. Lu Ming had nowhere to run. In an instant, hundreds of sword lights all struck Lu Ming, drowning him. There was a violent rumble. Bones flew everywhere, dust flew, and Lu Ming let out an unwilling roar. After that, there was no more movement. When the dust settled, there was nothing left. With a flash, a few black-robed figures flew over and landed on the ground. Above them, the expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask also descended from the air. Is Lu Ming dead? He must be dead. Under Lord's attack, not even his bones are left. The black-robed figures spoke one after another. The expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask scanned the surroundings with his spiritual consciousness, and even penetrated deep into the ground. But he did not find anything unusual. Then he stretched out his hand, and a storage ring flew out from among the bones and landed in his hand. There were bloodstains on the storage ring. He sensed it and knew that it was Lu Ming's aura. Lu Ming should be dead. His bones have merged with the bones here, leaving only a storage ring. The expert wearing the Grim Reaper mask said. He was very confident that under that move, Lu Ming would have died without a doubt. In that instant, Lu Ming could not have escaped. There was only one explanation. Lu Ming was dead, and not even his bones were left. The storage ring was the best explanation. This kid is really a freak. He's too terrifying. He can control 2 supreme laws. Fortunately, Lord came. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if the kid escaped. The other black-robed figures flattered. He is indeed a freak. All right, let's hurry and leave. The news will spread soon. I'm afraid the experts of Destiny City will be here soon. Also, in 2 days, spread the news that the Son of Chaos was killed by us. It will definitely shock the world. The masked expert said coldly. Then his figure flashed and the figures of the assassins disappeared. 10 miles away, in a hidden mountain valley, Lu Ming coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood, his face pale. Naturally, he was not dead. This time it's all thanks to Xiaoqing's scapegoat puppet. Lu Ming sighed. Just now, when he was about to be drowned by the sword light, he decisively used the scapegoat puppet that Xian Yanqing had given him. The scapegoat puppet was incomparably mysterious. In an instant his body was moved 10 miles away, and the enemy's attack was all absorbed by the puppet. Therefore, Lu Ming was not dead. The one who died was the scapegoat puppet. The scapegoat puppet had died for him once. At the critical moment, Lu Ming had left behind an interspatial ring. Even so, Lu Ming was swept by the aftershocks, and several more sword wounds appeared on his body. Waves of destructive power constantly drilled into the depths of his body. These people think I'm dead. It's not good for me to show myself now. I'll change my identity and heal here. I'll appear again when the Battle of 10 Earths begins. Lu Ming thought to himself. If he showed himself now, who knew if the enemy would send another assassination attempt? He didn't have a scapegoat puppet now. Lu Ming used the divine breath art to conceal his aura, then headed deeper into the ancient battlefield. He found a hidden place and entered the mountain river diagram to heal his injuries. His injuries were very serious. There were streaks of destructive sword light in his body that wanted to destroy his body. If he wanted to heal his injuries, he first had to dispel the sword light. Lu Ming controlled the 4 laws and began to dispel the sword light. In the blink of an eye, a few days passed. Lu Ming finally dispelled the sword light. As soon as the sword light was dispelled, Lu Ming's body began to rapidly recover. His bones and muscles were regenerating and healing rapidly. At this moment, a piece of news spread that shook the entire Divine Fate land. Lu Ming, the son of Primal Chaos who came from Primal Mountain, had been killed by the Nation of Death in Destiny City. When this news came out, the world was in an uproar. Countless people were shocked. Lu Ming had displayed terrifying talent and battle strength as soon as he came to the Divine Fate land. With his cultivation at the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint Realm, he had defeated several sons of Primal Chaos consecutively. Even Mu Yang, who was known as a seed expert, was defeated by Lu Ming and trampled under Lu Ming's feet. Originally, countless people thought highly of Lu Ming. They thought that Lu Ming would be a peak expert in the Battle of 10 Earths, a seed expert. Countless people looked forward to the battle between Lu Ming and the son of Primal Chaos, Yuan Xian. But now, Lu Ming had been killed by the Nation of Death. This was because the news was released by the Nation of Death. The Nation of Death was very arrogant. They claimed to the outside world that so what if he was a peerless genius? So what if he hid in Destiny City? If the Nation of Death wanted to kill someone, it was useless no matter where he hid. Chapter 2097. The overlords of Destiny City had previously announced to the public that killing was prohibited in the city for the safety of the geniuses. But now the Nation of Death had assassinated the Son of Chaos in Destiny City. This was a slap in the face to the overlords of Destiny City. The world was in an uproar. A powerful Son of Chaos had actually been assassinated by the Nation of Death in Destiny City. This was a major event that shocked countless people. Many people even suspected that this was true. But later on, someone stood out and said that it was true because they were at the ancient battlefield and saw with their own eyes that the Nation of Death had sent out a large number of experts to assassinate the Son of Chaos, Lu Ming. When the news was confirmed, many people found it difficult to calm down, especially some powerful geniuses. The Nation of Death was too terrifying. Since they could assassinate the Son of Chaos, they could also assassinate them. Many geniuses' activities became low-key. The overlords of Destiny City were furious and sent out a large number of experts to encircle and annihilate the Nation of Death. Unfortunately, they only managed to destroy a few insignificant branches and couldn't find the headquarters. The Nation of Death's people jumped out and clamored again. It didn't matter where the Nation of Death wanted to kill someone. Their words were extremely arrogant. Left with no choice, the overlords of Destiny City could only strengthen the city's defenses. There were powerful existences guarding every corner of the city. The moment something went wrong, they would send out experts to prevent another assassination attempt from happening. But this matter had a huge impact and affected the hearts of countless people. In the Inn of Destiny City, Autumn Moon, Long Chun, and Huang Li were in disbelief when they heard the news. Impossible, the young master won't die. Autumn Moon's face was pale as tears welled up in her eyes. Don't worry, Lu Ming definitely won't die. Long Chun and Huang Li spoke one after another. They clenched their fists tightly and emitted cold killing intent. In another ancient city to the south of Celestial City, Huang Ling, Luo Tianyi, and a few others were traveling. When they heard the news, their faces were also pale. No one can kill him. Several people whispered. Translator, Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios. The moment Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Emoli stepped into the Divine Fate land, They were shocked by the news. My master won't die. Both of them found it hard to believe that Lu Ming would be killed. In their eyes, Lu Ming was irreplaceable. One day he would be invincible. On a mountain peak, Death Blade stood against the wind, his aura wild. Lu Ming, you can't die yet. I still have to defeat you and replace you as the Gold Inheritor. A deep voice came from the Death Blade's mouth. Within an elegant courtyard in Destiny City, Xinghe stood tall with his hands behind his back. After a few years, the Eternal Star River had become even more terrifying. Its aura was unfathomable. Lu Ming, I wanted to kill you with my own hands. What a pity. Xinghe smiled faintly. On Yuan Mountain, the Hung Clan, He Clan, Daoyuo Heaven Sect, Ancient Moon Holy Land, Golden Crow Clan, Wang Clan, and other forces were overjoyed when they heard the news. Lu Ming's death was great news for them, especially for the Ancient Moon Holy Land, Wang Clan, Golden Crow Clan, and other forces. This was because in the Celestial Emperor City, Lu Ming had used the Celestial Emperor's body to kill a few experts. He had even beaten the great emperor of the He family until he fled. This made some forces in the Ancient Moon Holy Land who had a grudge against Lu Ming turn cold. They had been on tenterhooks, afraid that Lu Ming would use the Celestial Emperor's body to kill their sects and annihilate them. Now that Lu Ming was killed, they heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they guessed that Lu Ming's Heavenly Emperor's body was severely restricted. Otherwise, how could he be assassinated by the Death God Nation? If he could control the Heavenly Emperor's body, the people from the Death God Nation would only be courting death. Ha ha ha, boy, you dare to go against me. Only death awaits you. In Aeon City, Mu Clan Muyang laughed heartily. His only regret was that he did not kill Lu Ming with his own hands. The Divine Fate Land was in an uproar. Lu Ming had been in the depths of the ancient battlefield. After a few days, Lu Ming's injuries had healed. However, he did not go out and continued to cultivate in the ancient battlefield. He speculated that the assassins from the Death God Nation were probably hired by Mu Yang. As long as Mu Yang knew that he was dead, Mu Yang would not make any moves. Only then would Long Chen, Qiu Yu, and the others be safe. The depths of the ancient battlefield were very beneficial for cultivating the law of death. In the following days, Lu Ming focused on cultivating in seclusion to comprehend the law of death. Every day, there would be great gains. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. Lu Ming had made great progress in the law of death. His law of death had already reached 95%, and was on par with the law of devour. Now Lu Ming's 4 types of law fused together and erupted. The power was even more shocking. Lu Ming's strength had increased again. At this time Lu Ming walked out of the ancient battlefield. Because the time for the Battle of 10 Earths had arrived. Lu Ming disguised himself as a dark-skinned youth. Walking on the streets, no one could recognize him. Lu Ming inquired about the news of the Battle of 10 Earths. As there were too many people participating in the Battle of 10 Earths, the Battle of 10 Earths had to be screened. Countless geniuses from all over the Yuan continent had come. The number was shocking. If they were to compete one by one, it would be unrealistic and too slow. Therefore, the Battle of 10 Earths was divided into 4 battle zones. East, South, West, and North, the 4 battle zones. Everyone could choose any battle zone to register. Then they would be screened before they could participate in the final battle. The time would begin tomorrow. Lu Ming found a place to stay. A day passed in the blink of an eye. On the second day, Lu Ming headed towards the southern battle zone. It was an extremely spacious place, but when Lu Ming arrived, he found that the empty space was almost filled with people. Of course, many people were over the age limit, and were here to watch the fun. There were naturally not that many young geniuses. In the center of the empty space, there was a huge platform. At this moment, there were a few figures floating above the platform, emitting shocking auras. Great Emperor. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He discovered that one of the people's aura was extremely deep and terrifying. Lu Ming had come into contact with great emperors more than once. Naturally, he could easily determine that this person was a great emperor. The 4 battle zones were controlled by the 4 overlord forces of Destiny City. This should be an expert from one of the overlord forces. The screening is divided into several rounds. The first round is very simple. You can register first and then step onto this platform. We will test you together. The Emperor Realm expert spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it rang in everyone's ears. Below the platform, there were a few registration places. Some youths went forward one after another and began to register. After registering, they stepped onto the platform. Chapter 2098. Alright, let's begin the test for this batch. The Great Emperor ordered. This Great Emperor looked to be in his 50s and had a majestic aura. Immediately, an old man stepped forward. In a moment, I'll unleash my pressure on you. Resist it with all your might. As long as you can withstand it for 30 breaths, those who can't withstand it will be eliminated. The old man said. Many people's hearts moved. This method was simple. A group of people would gather together and use their auras to suppress those who could withstand it. This way, the efficiency would be high. Those who weren't strong could be eliminated quickly. Begin. As the old man's voice sounded, a terrifying aura erupted from his body and enveloped the entire platform. True Emperor. Lu Ming could tell that this elder was a true Emperor-level expert. As soon as the old man's aura was released, some people's expressions changed. Their bodies trembled, and then they coughed out large mouthfuls of blood and knelt on the ground. Senior, please have mercy. I can't withstand it anymore. The youth roared, feeling as if his body was about to be crushed into meat paste. Get down, the old man said indifferently as he controlled his aura. The pressure on the youth instantly lightened, and he hurriedly rushed down the platform, gasping for breath. A mere bright saint dares to go up on the platform? He's overestimating himself. This is the Battle of 10 Earths, not some small place. A bright saint dares to go up? What a joke. Many people shook their heads and laughed. The Battle of 10 Earths gathered the strongest prodigies in the 10 Earths. A mere bright saint was not enough. The youth's face flushed red. In fact, there were many people like that young man. Plop! Plop! On the platform, many youths knelt down and coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. These youths' cultivation was around the Bright Saint realm. The Battle of 10 Earths was really affecting. It was the first time in history, and countless people paid attention to it. Many youths wanted to perform on such a stage, hoping to be noticed. Therefore, many of those who didn't have high cultivation wanted to participate. Many people coughed out blood and rushed down the platform, eliminated. As time passed, the old man's aura became stronger and stronger. Later on, even the great saints couldn't withstand it and were eliminated. In the end, only about 100 people out of the 1,000 managed to resist for 30 breaths of time. Of course, everyone's condition was different. Some people were trembling all over, cold sweat flowing down their backs, and they were gasping for breath. It was obvious that they had exhausted all their strength. Some people, on the other hand, were calm and collected. Their expressions were normal and relaxed. The names of those who had advanced to the next round were kept, and they could enter the next round. You've all seen it for yourself. If you're not strong enough, then don't sign up. You'll only embarrass yourself and get injured. The middle-aged great emperor said. Many youths had ugly expressions on their faces. In the end, they sighed helplessly. They originally wanted to show off, but in reality, they didn't even have the qualifications to participate. They didn't even have the qualifications to serve as a foil. The Battle of the 10 Lands was the stage for true geniuses. As long as one could get a spot in the 10 Lands battle, it would be a huge honor. However, most people could only watch. Following that, more and more people came forward to register. When there were about 1,000 people, the old man once again unleashed his aura and pressured the young man on the platform. This time, the situation was much better. Out of the 1,000 participants, about 500 of them made it to the next round. Because those who didn't have enough cultivation knew that they wouldn't be able to pass and would only get injured if they went up, they didn't sign up. Then the selection continued. Xiang Xiang and Li Autumn Moon, Huang Ling. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw Xiang Xiang, Autumn Moon, and the others in the crowd. They were all here, and they were all in the southern war zone. With their cultivation bases, they naturally passed the selection easily. I'll go up too. Lu Ming smiled and began to sign up. He wasn't in a hurry to meet Xiang Xiang and the others. What's your name? On the registration platform, someone looked at Lu Ming. Tianyun. Lu Ming said, leave your aura. The other party said. Lu Ming nodded and left a wisp of aura. This was to identify his identity. Then Lu Ming stepped onto the platform. I have hair, I'm heartless. Lu Ming had just stepped onto the platform when he heard a Buddhist chant behind him. Lu Ming's eyelids twitched. Lu Ming was too familiar with this voice. Although he hadn't heard it for more than 10 years, he definitely wouldn't forget it. Lu Ming turned around and saw a slightly plump young monk stepping onto the platform. Heartless monk. Lu Ming was a little dazed. He didn't expect to meet Heartless monk here. Back then, when he was in the Divine Wilderness continent, Heartless and Moonless left before him and came to Yuan continent. It had been more than 10 years since they last met. Heartless monk was still the same as more than 10 years ago. He hadn't changed at all. When he walked up and saw Lu Ming looking at him, he couldn't help but chant a Buddhist chant. I have hair. Benefactor, you're looking at me with such affection. Could it be that you've taken a fancy to me? Unfortunately, you're a man. If you were a beautiful woman, I would consider it. Heartless monk said with a smile. Go to hell. Lu Ming curled his lips. This guy hadn't changed at all. Benefactor, why do I feel like we've met before? It's a familiar feeling. Oh no. Why would I have such feelings for a man? Heartless monk started to stare at Lu Ming. Then his face turned bitter and he sighed. Get lost. Lu Ming scolded. At the same time, he was shocked. This unreliable monk's spiritual sense was really sharp. He had used his divine breath technique, but Heartless monk still felt it. Amit Ba. Then another chant was heard and a few young monks stepped onto the platform. Moonless, Dustless. Lu Ming recognized a few of them. Moonless Bodhisattva was also a familiar face in the Divine Wilderness continent. The other one was Dustless of Boundless Temple. He controlled the law of karma and was one of the Elysian children. Soon, there were about 1,000 people on the platform. The true Emperor Realm Old Man started to release his aura. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on everyone. However, this pressure was nothing to Lu Ming. He didn't feel anything. Lu Ming saw that Heartless, Moonless, and Dustless were the same. Their faces were calm and they didn't react at all. It seems like Heartless and Moonless strength has increased tremendously after coming to the Yuan continent. Lu Ming thought to himself. To begin with, Lu Ming was unfamiliar with the cultivation of Buddhism. He discovered that he could not see through the cultivation level of the few young monks. It was as if there was a ball of dazzling golden light in their bodies that concealed their cultivation level. 30 breaths passed in the blink of an eye. They had passed the test easily. I have hair. Benefactor, have we met before? It seems like you have fate with Buddhism. Why don't you shave and join the Buddhist sect? Heartless came to Lu Ming and said with a smile. Go to hell. Chapter 2099. Next, the test continued. After a few more tests, no one signed up. In the end, about 3,000 people passed the first round. Come with me for the next round, the middle-aged great emperor said and stepped into the air. Those who passed the first round followed behind him. Those who were watching the show naturally followed as well. The crowd flew across the sky. Soon, the middle-aged martial monarch came to a stop in midair. There was a huge door of light in midair. This is the second round of the selection. Once you enter the door of light, you will enter a tunnel. There are various tests waiting for you in the tunnel. As long as you can pass through the tunnel within 30 minutes, you will pass the test. You may enter together. The middle-aged great emperor said. Whoosh, whoosh. In a flash, more than 3,000 people flew into the door of light. The door of light was huge. It did not seem crowded at all when more than 3,000 people flew in. The moment the 3,000 people flew into the door of light, they disappeared. Lu Ming felt his body tremble. He had arrived in a tunnel. There was no one else around. He was the only one. He knew that there must be a formation here. Great emperors had powerful means. It was not surprising that they had set up some mysterious formations. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Although the tunnel was a little difficult, it was not a problem for Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not go all out, but he passed through the entire passageway very quickly. Looking at the passageway that appeared in front of him, Lu Ming smiled faintly. About 5 minutes. He only used 5 minutes to pass through the tunnel. The test of this tunnel was very complicated. It not only tested one's combat strength, but also courage, decisiveness, wisdom, willpower, etc. It was very comprehensive. If one was outstanding in all these aspects, their talent would definitely not be bad. However, Lu Ming had experienced many similar trials and tribulations along the way. To him, these trials were not difficult at all. Lu Ming stepped out of the tunnel. As soon as Lu Ming stepped out of the tunnel, he saw many people looking at him. Lu Ming was stunned. He realized that there were many people standing in the air. Most of them were of the older generation. Some of them had terrifying auras. It can't be, there are so many great emperors. Lu Ming was shocked. He discovered that there were no less than 10 old men emitting the aura of great emperors. This made Lu Ming's heart tremble. I have hair. Benefactor, your speed is not fast. Ha ha ha. With a Buddhist chant, an unscrupulous monk appeared. His speed was even faster than Lu Ming's, which surprised Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now. Lu Ming glanced around and saw that a few young men had already passed through the passage. It's him. Lu Ming saw a young man with a tall and straight figure. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, exuding a domineering aura. The son of chaos, Yuan Xian. Lu Ming had seen it during the Hunyuan sect assessment, so how could he forget it? Yuan Xian cast a nonchalant glance at Lu Ming before shifting her gaze away. Little fellow, what law are you cultivating? At this time, an old man looked at Lu Ming with sparkling eyes. The law of death. Lu Ming nodded, and the aura of the law of death emanated from his body. You are indeed the son of chaos? Little fellow, are you willing to be my disciple? The old man asked. I feel that we are fated to be his disciple. He should be my disciple. Another old man spoke. These people were all great emperors. Lu Ming was a little stunned. Could it be that these great emperors were waiting here to recruit disciples? Benefactor, these are all great emperors from God's destined land. Their purpose is to find talented young men to accept as disciples and pass on their mantle. Unscrupulous monk transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and understood. In Yuan continent, changing one's master was not a big deal under certain circumstances. For example, some peerless geniuses might have a master with a low cultivation when their cultivation was still weak. However, these geniuses would quickly rise and surpass their masters in a short period of time. For example, Lu Ming's current cultivation was much stronger than Cloud Dragon Valley masters. Therefore, those masters who had started their apprenticeship could no longer help those geniuses. Those geniuses could naturally find other stronger masters. Therefore, these great emperors were waiting here to try their luck. If they met a peerless genius who did not have a strong background, and was willing to be their master, they would have profited. Senior, thank you for your kindness. I already have a master, and will not be taking you as my disciple for the time being. Lu Ming cupped his fists and expressed his gratitude. What a pity. The few great emperors shook their heads and felt that it was a pity. He was the son of death and could pass through the passage in 5 minutes. It could be said that he was top-notch in all aspects. These great emperors were very tempted. However, it was obvious that only a few of these geniuses would be willing to take a master. Normally, they would have a strong background or an expert. The crowd continued to wait. Later on, a few more people appeared. Lu Ming saw a familiar face, the ancient devil. The land of infinite demons. The genius who cultivated the primordial demon Tao. This person was undoubtedly a terrifying opponent. A few years had passed. He did not know what level his cultivation had reached. Xiang Moli. At the 8th minute, Lu Ming saw Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli walking out at almost the same time. So young. Many people's eyes moved. As for those old men, their eyes lit up. Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli looked too young. Ouyang Moli was slightly older, but he looked to be around 20 years old. As for Lu Xiang, she looked to be less than 20 years old. It was extremely rare to be able to walk out of the passage in 8 minutes at such a young age. Those old men's hearts moved again. Haha, These two brats are not bad. Passing through the passage in 8 minutes. Excellent talent. An old man stepped forward and said with a smile. Greetings, senior. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli bowed politely. What law did the two of you comprehend? Another old man stepped forward and asked with a smile. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli did not hide and released their auras. The children of last time, the children of last time. The old men's eyes lit up even more. Little girl, are you willing to acknowledge me as your master? Little brat, are you willing to acknowledge me as your master? The old men spoke one after another, staring at Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli. Their eyes were burning with passion. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli looked at each other and shook their heads. Senior, I already have a master. I won't acknowledge anyone else as my master. Lu Xiangxiang shook her head and said, You already have a master? Who is your master? What's his cultivation level? I'm a great emperor. An old man was anxious and quickly spoke, revealing his cultivation level. My master's cultivation level is not as high as senior's, but in the future, he will definitely become a top expert. Lu Xiangxiang said with a determined expression. Haha, little girl, how can it be so easy to become a top expert? Don't be fooled. Chapter 2100. However, Lu Xiangxiang continued to shake her head. The old man was getting anxious. Lu Xiangxiang was so young, yet she already had such a high cultivation base. Moreover, she could pass through the passage in 8 minutes. Her talent was definitely very high. The more he looked at her, the more he liked her. Little girl, who is your master? I'll go talk to him. The old man said. My master Lu Ming. Lu Xiangxiang's clear voice rang out, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. The son of chaos Yuan Xian's eyes flashed with 2 rays of bright light that resembled sword light. The ancient devil's eyes moved, and a layer of devilish light spread out from his body. Mu Yang's eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he looked at Lu Xiangxiang with hostility. Lu Ming. Monk Wuyang muttered as if he was reminiscing. He then carefully sized up Xiangxiang. Lu Ming? Which Lu Ming? The old man asked again. The son of chaos Lu Ming of Yuan Mountain. Lu Xiangxiang added. So it's him, the son of chaos Lu Ming. I didn't expect to have a disciple like you at such a young age. Like master, like disciple. The old man sighed and continued. Your master's talent is indeed unparalleled. If he didn't die, it's normal for him to surpass this old man in the future. However, he has already fallen. No, I believe that my master is not dead. Lu Xiangxiang shook her head. Her delicate little face was filled with determination. Little girl, why don't you reconsider? The old man was still unwilling. Many thanks to senior, but this junior will not change my master. Lu Xiangxiang shook her head firmly. This little girl. Lu Ming smiled. Little guy, what about you? Do you have a master? At this time, another old man stared at Ouyang Moli. Yes, my master is Lu Ming. Ouyang Moli said. The scene suddenly quieted down. Yuan Xian Muyang, and the other's eyes lit up. What? Lu Ming? It's Lu Ming again? Which Lu Ming? The Emperor Realm old men were all stunned. She's my senior sister. Ouyang Moli pointed at Lu Xiangxiang. Everyone at the scene was stunned. He really was Lu Ming's disciple. 3 Elysian children from one sect. This left everyone speechless. How rare were the children of heaven? They were just too rare. Even in this golden age, they were extremely rare. There were only a few of them in one place. It was only because of the Battle of the 10 Lands that the geniuses of the entire Yuan continent gathered that they could occasionally see the Elysian children. Lu Ming, on the other hand, was a son of heaven himself. He took in 2 disciples, and they were also sons of heaven. This kind of situation, probably even heavenly emperor powerhouses would be envious. My master is definitely not dead. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli said in unison. Not dead? What a joke. You're just deceiving yourself. Mu Yang opened his mouth and sneered. What did you say? Lu Xiangxiang glared at Mu Yang. I'm just telling the truth. You're arrogant just because you have a bit of cultivation. You don't even know how you died. Mu Yang sneered. If I'm here, who do you think you are? You'll definitely be tortured by my master, Ouyang Moli said coldly. What did you say? You're courting death. Instantly Muyang was enraged. His face flushed red with anger. He thought that Ouyang Moli was deliberately mocking him. Previously, he was indeed tortured by Lu Ming and trampled on by Lu Ming. He was utterly humiliated. But in fact, Ouyang Moli did not know Muyang at all. He did not know that Muyang had already been tortured by Lu Ming. Am I right? You were really tortured by my master before? Ouyang Moli saw something and continued to mock him. You're courting death. Muyang was furious. His body emitted cold killing intent as he walked towards Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli. What are you doing? Is this the place for the battle? An old man glanced at Muyang coldly, causing Muyang to shiver. He broke out in cold sweat like a deflated balloon. In the end, the old men sighed. They knew that it was a pity that Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli would not be apprenticed. After that, more and more people passed through the passage. Half an hour later, around 1,000 people passed. Those who did not pass were all eliminated. Out of the 3,000 people, only 1,000 people were left. Alright, there's still the third round of the selection. Follow me. The middle-aged great emperor came and announced the results. The crowd followed him, including the great emperors. The crowd flew towards another mountain peak. The peak of this mountain peak was extremely wide. It looked as if someone had sliced off the peak with a sword, making it look very smooth. In the middle of the mountain peak, there was a huge battle stage. It was emitting purple gold light. That was the power of the array. The middle-aged great emperor landed on the battle stage and said, "This round of selection is the last one. There will only be 80 spots left in this round." 80 spots. The crowd was shocked. Out of 1,000 people, only 80 would be left. The probability of elimination was too high. Furthermore, this was only the selection. The final battle had not yet begun. The 4 battle zones have the same rules. Each battle zone will select 80 people. There will be a total of 320 people who will participate in the real battle. It's a peak battle. However, let me tell you something. After this round of selection, you will be able to obtain an opportunity. A great opportunity. Many of you might be able to use it to reach the martial emperor realm. The middle-aged great emperor announced. What? Many people were shocked. After this round of selection, they would be able to obtain an opportunity that could even allow them to reach the martial emperor realm. One should know that it was extremely difficult to reach the martial emperor realm from the boundary emperor realm. Since ancient times, countless geniuses had been stuck at this step. Some were stuck for a few years. Some were stuck for a few decades. Some were stuck for a few thousand years. Many people could not break through in their lifetime. This was a hurdle, a huge hurdle. Once one reached the martial emperor realm, it meant that one's lifespan was endless. As long as one could survive the heavenly tribulation that occurred once every 300,000 years, one would be able to live forever. The goal of countless people was to reach the martial emperor realm. Now there was an opportunity that could allow one to break through to the martial emperor realm. Everyone's heart burned with passion. Before the Battle of the 10 Earths, some great emperor had said that this battle would be accompanied by a great opportunity. It seemed that it was true. I must enter the top 80. I must obtain this opportunity. Many people clenched their fists and swore to themselves that they must enter the top 80. Those who had already been eliminated sighed. The eyes of the heavenly children were especially bright. The rules of this round are very simple. Everyone will step onto the battle stage and fight. The 80 people remaining on the battle stage will be the 80 people who will advance. Of course, there is a condition. You can team up, but the number of people can't exceed 3. More than 3 people will be considered breaking the rules. Chapter 2101. Many people's hearts trembled. This rule could be said to be very simple and very crude, but it was also very effective. More than 1,000 people went up the stage to fight. Only 80 people would be left on the stage. One could imagine how intense the battle would be and how the situation would change. Being strong didn't mean that one would be able to stay until the end. One needed luck. Of course, when one was strong enough, one didn't need luck to defeat the others and stay until the end. Moreover, there was a condition. The number of people working together couldn't exceed 3. This was also a form of protection and a restriction. What he was afraid of was that there would be many experts joining forces. If more than 10 top experts joined forces and swept away the others, how could he play? If only 3 people worked together, the restriction would be great. Furthermore, teams are not allowed to work together against the enemy. The middle-aged great emperor added. Some people thought that the hope of several teams working together was dashed. Alright, these are the rules. Let's begin. The middle-aged great emperor announced. Swoosh, swoosh. More than 1,000 young supreme talents flew up the stage. However, after flying up the stage, they separated from each other and stared at each other cautiously. The stage was huge. It was 100 miles long and wide. With more than 1,000 people on the stage, it seemed very spacious. Countless people watched nervously from all directions. Let's work together. How about you and I work together? On the stage there wasn't a huge battle immediately. Instead, they communicated with each other and planned to work together. Swoosh, swoosh. Their figures flashed, and many people began to join forces. 3 people in a group. More and more groups appeared on the stage. Lu Ming saw Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, Autumn Moon, and Huang Ling teaming up. Bubbles, Huang Ling, and Luo Tianyi were in a group, with Bubbles as the core. Then Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, and Autumn Moon were in a group. Long Chun, Huang Li, and Luo Xiang were in a group. Ouyang Wushuang and the 2 powerful king bodies who joined the Dragon Alliance at Yuan Mountain were in a group. On the other side, Lu Ming saw Wu Liang, Wu Yu, and Wu Chun in a group. Of course, it was impossible for everyone to form a group of 3. Some of them had 2 people, while others only had 1 person. For example, Deathblade, Mu Yang, Yuan Xian, and the Ancient Demon were all in a group. They looked around coldly. Get down! Suddenly, a loud roar rang out. Someone had begun to attack. You'll be the ones to go down. Boom! Boom! An intense collision sounded. Someone was fighting a great battle. Pull a strand of hair, and the whole body moves. When one person moves, the whole body moves. The fighting ring immediately fell into a chaotic battle. As long as he could knock his opponent off the stage, he would have more confidence in staying on the stage. The 3 of them weren't weak. The leader had a king-type body and had reached the peak of the absolute saint realm. As for the other 2, although they didn't have king bodies, their spiritual bodies were superior sky spiritual bodies, and their cultivations had reached the absolute saint realm. The 3 of them launched a torrential attack on Lu Ming at the same time, wanting to blast him down in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, they were too slow when they passed through the passage. They didn't see Lu Ming use the law of death, so they didn't know that Lu Ming was an Elysian child. During this period of time, many people had inquired about some of the famous Elysian children, including their appearances. However, they had never seen Lu Ming before. You'll be the ones to get down. Lu Ming glanced at the 3 people coldly. Death Qi filled his eyes. The 3 people's attacks collapsed under the death Qi. Oh no, it's the law of death. He's a death child. The 3 people shouted in horror. They wanted to retreat. But Lu Ming used the eyes of death. The death Qi became thicker and enveloped the 3 people. The 3 people screamed in agony. It was as if their lives were being taken away. Spare us. We admit defeat. We admit defeat. The 3 people yelled. Lu Ming's heart moved, and the death Qi disappeared. The 3 people hurriedly rushed down the battle stage. They were afraid that Lu Ming would kill them. The 100-mile-long battle stage looked huge when there wasn't a battle. However, it felt very small when there was a chaotic battle. With their current strength, they could move more than 100 miles in an instant. Lu Xiangxiang and the others were in a group of 3. They performed very well and were very strong. In the past 3 years, Emperor Notionless and the others had brought them to the corresponding secret places to cultivate. Their progress could be described as fast. Bubbles' cultivation had already reached the boundary Emperor realm. Huang Ling, Long Chun, Huang Li, and the others were all boundary emperors. Only Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were slightly weaker. However, they were also peak saints. Moreover, their law of death had reached 99%. They were only one step away from the boundary emperor realm. However, they were Elysian children. Their battle strength was shocking. They were stronger than boundary emperors with king bodies. Wherever they passed, the experts were knocked off the battle stage. Not many people were able to fight them. Lu Ming's disciples scram. Mu Yang targeted Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli and Autumn Moon. His figure flashed as he charged toward the three. Be careful. Qiu Yu warned. Her body was exchanging heat and cold. One side was blazing hot while the other side was cold. They interweaved, producing a terrifying destructive force that blasted towards Mu Yang. At the same time, the light of law covered her body. The law of yin and yang flowed like a river. Greenwood sky raising. Lu Xiangxiang waved her small hand, and an ancient green tree appeared. It covered the sky and was incomparably huge, and it pressed down on Mu Yang. At the same time, Ouyang Moli slashed out with the reincarnation halberd. 6 reincarnation vortexes followed the reincarnation halberd and slashed toward Mu Yang. You want to stop me with just the 3 of you? Duh. Mu Yang shouted. With a wave of his hand, the law of nothingness vibrated. Rays of nothingness light shot toward the 3. Boom, boom, boom. 3 explosions sounded. Autumn Moon, Lu Xiangxiang, and Ouyang Moli's attacks all collapsed. Under the law of nothingness, they turned into nothingness. It had to be said that Mu Yang's strength was very shocking. He had already started to form a small world, and stood at the peak of the boundary emperor realm. Autumn Moon had a king body. Although she was also at the peak of the boundary emperor realm, it was difficult for her to fight against Mu Yang. As for Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli, their cultivations had yet to break through to the boundary emperor realm. Even if they worked together, they were not Mu Yang's match. Your master is dead. I'll send you to accompany him. Mu Yang sneered and charged toward Lu Xiangxiang and the other 2. The 3 tried their best to block, but they were still at a disadvantage and were in imminent danger. Not far away, Bubble and the others wanted to help, but there were rules. They were in groups of 3 and the others could not interfere. They could only watch anxiously. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. Chapter 2102. Swoosh. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed forward. He did not attack Mu Yang because if he did, it would mean that he and Xiangxiang's group had broken the rules. He directly charged towards the people behind Mu Yang. There were other prodigies of the Mu family there. Kill. Lu Ming charged towards a group of 3. They were all prodigies of the Mu family, and 2 of them had king bodies. The Mu family was powerful. Not only did they have Mu Yang, a son of heaven, but they also had 2 king bodies. They were extremely powerful. Before Lu Ming arrived, the terrifying light of death had already enveloped the 3 Mu family experts. The 3 Mu family prodigies were shocked and tried their best to resist. But Lu Ming instantly knew, and the light of death once again burst out from his eyes. This was the eyes of death, a terrifying divine ability with astonishing killing power. Clang! Clang! Lu Ming's eyes emitted beams of light. They were like combat weapons, emitting sonorous sounds as they charged toward the other party. There was a miserable scream. Among the 3 Mu family prodigies, one of them did not have a king body and his cultivation was slightly weaker. He was directly killed, and his body was cut into several pieces. Even the 2 king bodies were seriously injured. If not for their extremely strong cultivation at the boundary emperor realm, and the laws surrounding their bodies like a river, they would have been killed. Even so, there were a few more wounds on their bodies, and blood flowed out. The light of death attached to the wounds, wanting to deprive them of their vitality. Then Lu Ming slammed down with his palm, and the 2 Mu family prodigies vomited large mouthfuls of blood and retreated. Mu Yang, save us! A Mu family prodigy with a king body roared, revealing a terrified expression. Brat, you're courting death. Mu Yang let out a long howl. He abandoned Lu Xiangxiang and the rest and charged toward Lu Ming. I've been waiting for you. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up as a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. In his hand, the law of death turned into a sword light and slashed out. This sword light not only contained the law of death, but also the law of devouring and the law of array Dao. Its power skyrocketed, and the 2 Mu clan king bodies could not block it at all. With 2 screams, 2 heads flew high into the air, and blood sprayed 10 meters high. How dare you? You're courting death. Outside of the battle platform, there were also cultivators from the Mu clan watching the battle. At this moment, they were roaring like mad lions filled with killing intent. 2 of the Mu clan's king physiques had died. To the Mu clan, this was an earth-shattering event. The price was too great. Their hearts were bleeding. Generally speaking, those with king bodies had the potential to become great emperors. Such geniuses were simply too precious. But now all of them had been slain at the same time. However, although the Mu clan was furious, they didn't dare to attack in this kind of situation. They could only watch helplessly, hoping that Mu Yang would kill Lu Ming and avenge the Mu clan's king body. After Lu Ming killed the 2 Mu clan's king body cultivators, his figure flashed, and like a flash of lightning, he rushed towards Mu Yang. Now that Mu Yang had abandoned Xiang Xiang and the others, he could naturally attack. Die, brat! Mu Yang roared, using the law of nothingness, and attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming also attacked with his palm. Boom! Their attacks collided, but the result was that Mu Yang's body shook violently, and he was forced to retreat. On the battle platform, the spectators were shocked. Especially the Mu clan's cultivators. How could Mu Yang be defeated? Mu Yang was known as one of the seeded cultivators this time. He was extremely powerful, and had already begun to develop a small world. When he lost to Lu Ming, it was because Lu Ming was too abnormal. But now, the Son of Death had appeared out of nowhere, and was able to suppress Mu Yang. There are too many experts in the world. There are many hidden geniuses that we don't even know about. Yet the seeded cultivators from before are not the strongest. No one knows how many stronger geniuses there are in the dark. What is this Son of Death called? His strength is astonishing. I think his name is Tianyin. He used that name to register. Some people were discussing. Roar. On the battle platform, Mu Yang roared. He was actually forced to retreat, which made him furious. The aura on his body became even more berserk as he attacked Lu Ming fiercely. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming faced the enemy directly, exchanging blows with Mu Yang. After a dozen moves, Lu Ming had completely suppressed Mu Yang. Mu Yang's body kept retreating, and the law of nothingness on his body seemed to be penetrated by Lu Ming. Bang! In the end, Lu Ming's palm broke through Mu Yang's defense and landed on his body. Mu Yang cried out miserably as his body flew out, and he vomited blood. Mu Yang, is that all you have? How can you be called a seeded cultivator? What a joke! Lu Ming sneered as he strode towards Mu Yang. I will kill you. Mu Yang's eyes were red. The saint force on his body boiled, and the law of nothingness poured into his body from the void, emitting a brilliant radiance. Sea of Nothingness. Mu Yang used his strongest move, forming the Sea of Nothingness and enveloping Lu Ming. Die for me. Mu Yang seemed to have gone mad as he crazily controlled the Sea of Nothingness. The Sea of Nothingness let out rumbling sounds as it evolved into various terrifying attacks that wanted to turn everything in the Sea of Nothingness into nothingness. Nearby, there were a few people who did not manage to dodge, and were directly sucked in by the Sea of Nothingness. They let out mournful screams as they turned into nothingness. Dong! Dong! But within the Sea of Nothingness, a terrifying rumbling sound rang out, like the sound of a drum. The Sea of Nothingness began to churn violently. Mu Yang's expression changed as he tried his best to control the Sea of Nothingness. But it was useless as the Sea of Nothingness's trembling became more and more intense. Finally, with a boom, it exploded, and a figure stepped out from within. It was Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming roared, his killing intent surging as he charged towards Mu Yang. He was determined to kill Mu Yang. Mu Yang's expression was ugly as he quickly retreated, not daring to fight with Lu Ming. Scram scram. Mu Yang fled frantically, and anyone who blocked his path was either killed by him or sent flying off the stage. But he still could not escape. Soon Lu Ming caught up to him. He could only do his best to fight, but after a few moves, Lu Ming's attack landed on his body. Mu Yang was sent flying, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood as his body nearly exploded. How can this be? Tianyin's law is clearly not complete, and has not reached Quasi-Emperor yet. How can he be so strong? Even Mu Yang can't block him? Someone was stunned. On the surface, Mu Yang's cultivation was indeed stronger. They were both sons of heaven, so how could there be such a huge difference in their battle strength? That little guy doesn't just control the law of death. He also controls other laws. This is the fusion of laws. An emperor spoke, his voice filled with shock. Although Lu Ming could fuse several laws together and hide them well, ordinary people would not be able to see through them. But what kind of people were emperors? Naturally, he could not hide it from them. As long as they paid attention, they would be able to see through it. What? He fused several laws together? This is too monstrous. He can actually control several laws under martial emperor. Chapter 2103. For someone below the martial emperor realm to be able to control several types of laws and merge them together, it was beyond imagination. Not only the ordinary people, but even the great emperor realm old men were shocked. Of course, Lu Ming did not cast the law of chaos. If he did not cast it, of course, they would not be able to tell. If they saw that Lu Ming had mastered two types of ultimate laws, he wondered what kind of expression they would have. Also, this little guy has used a disguise technique. Very clever. A great emperor whispered. It was naturally impossible for Lu Ming's divine breathing technique to deceive a great emperor. However, these great emperors had never seen him before. Although they could see that he had used a disguise technique, they did not know Lu Ming's real identity. Lu Ming sent Mu Yang flying and continued to attack him. At that moment, Mu Yang no longer had any intention to continue fighting. He only wanted to escape. However, he was not willing to rush down the fighting stage and admit defeat. Because if he could pass this selection, he would obtain a great opportunity and be able to break through to the martial emperor realm. I must hold on. As long as I pass this selection, I will be able to enter the martial emperor realm. At that time, I will skin this little guy alive. Mu Yang roared in his heart. However, at the next moment, he was scared out of his wits. This was because Lu Ming had attacked again. He had broken through Mu Yang's defense with one move and bombarded his back. Blood splattered everywhere. There was a huge hole in Mu Yang's body. Of course, such an injury could only severely injure Mu Yang, and could not kill him. Mu Yang fell to the ground like a dead dog. His eyes were filled with fear. Now, even if he wanted to rush down the fighting stage and admit defeat, he could not do so. Stop, little guy. Mu Yang is our Mu clan's peerless genius. If you dare to kill him, you will be buried with him. Outside the fighting stage, an expert from the Mu clan shouted at the top of his lungs. Mu Yang was the son of the heavens and had unparalleled talent. He could not die. The Mu clan's expert could not wait to attack the fighting stage and kill Lu Ming. Shut up. Are you going to interfere with the Battle of the Ten Lands? The middle-aged great emperor coldly glanced at the experts of the Mu clan, causing their faces to turn ugly, and they obediently shut their mouths. The middle-aged emperor was from one of the overlords of Destiny City. Moreover, the Battle of the Ten Earths was organized by the great emperors of the various regions. No one had the right to interfere. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he walked towards Mu Yang. Enough! At this moment, a cold and aloof voice could be heard from behind Lu Ming. An indifferent and arrogant voice could be heard. An extremely powerful pressure was exerted on Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt as if there was a wild beast staring at him from behind, ready to unleash a fatal blow at any time. Lu Ming slowly turned around and saw a young man walking toward him step by step with his hands behind his back. Yuan Exine. The son of chaos, Yuan Exine. Yuan Exine had a slender figure and a handsome appearance. With his hands behind his back, he had an invincible aura. This was indeed the case. He walked on the battle platform as if he was taking a stroll. No one dared to make a move against him. That was because Yuan Exine was known as one of the strongest in the younger generation of the Yuan Lu. He was extremely terrifying. Yuan Exine, help me kill him. Help me kill this brat. Mu Yang shouted excitedly when he saw Yuan Exine. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Yuan Exine didn't say anything. He continued walking slowly towards Lu Ming. His pace wasn't fast, but with every step his aura grew stronger. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. He could sense a sense of danger from Yuan Exine. Yuan Exine is about to make a move. Many people's eyes lit up around the battle platform. Even many of the older generation's figures were interested. The son of chaos, Yuan Xian, was famous for his fighting prowess. He was extremely powerful, and the other sons of heaven had to bow their heads before him. He was on par with the Destiny's Child, and was known as one of the strongest. Mu Yang and Yuan Xian are good friends. It's normal for Yuan Xian to make a move when Mu Yang is injured. Then Tianyan is in trouble. He has no chance against Yuan Xian. I hope he can last until the end of the selection. Otherwise, it would be a pity if such a genius didn't pass the selection. Many people thought that Lu Ming would most likely not be Yuan Xian's match, and would be defeated. Son of Chaos, I want to see your true strength. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. A sharp light flashed in his eyes and his battle intent filled the air. Although he had fought with Yuan Xian during the Primal Chaos Sex Assessment, there were many restrictions at that time. Their cultivations were suppressed to the same level. Even their divine skills and bloodlines were suppressed. They couldn't use their true strength. Since you want to see, I'll let you see, Yuan Xian said coldly. He took a step forward and charged towards Lu Ming, throwing out a punch. This punch was as powerful as an ancient divine mountain. It whistled through the air, and directly pierced through it. This punch was extremely terrifying. An ordinary one-star martial emperor would find it difficult to block it. Boom! Lu Ming took a step forward and his body swayed like a huge dragon. His powerful physical strength erupted completely. His saint force surged and blasted out along his arm. It was also a punch. Lu Ming also used the law of death, the law of devouring, and the law of array for this punch. The two fists heavily collided. The entire fighting platform rumbled violently. The void trembled as a terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Some youths nearby were hit by the energy. They vomited blood, and were sent flying off the fighting platform. The expressions of some of the stronger geniuses changed drastically. Their figures flashed as they dodged the attack. Both of their bodies trembled and swayed. The first move didn't determine the victor. You have some strength. Let's see how many moves you can take. Yuan Xian's expression didn't change when he didn't push Lu Ming back. The law of primal chaos spread out from his body, making his aura even more oppressive. Boom! Boom! Yuan Xian's fists continued to bombard Lu Ming. Streams of fist force smashed toward Lu Ming like meteorites. Eyes of death. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with radiance. Rays of light shot out like weapons and slashed at Yuan Xian's fist energy. These rays of light didn't only contain the law of death, but also other laws. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. It was difficult to determine the victor. Yuan Xian is indeed strong. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Now he had merged three types of precepts. Although his mastery of the Edict of Death and the Edict of Devouring had yet to reach the limit, when the three types of precepts burst out, in addition to his spiritual body and saint energy, his combat strength was extremely shocking. Yet it was still difficult to do anything to Yuan Xian. He realized that Yuan Xian's physical body was also shockingly strong. It wasn't much weaker than his. However, Lu Ming still had the law of primal chaos. The law of primal chaos was already at 99% completion. Once he used the law of primal chaos and merged it with the law of death, the combination of the two strongest laws would skyrocket. However, now was not the time to expose it. In the blink of an eye, after a few more moves, the two of them had exchanged blows and both of them took a few steps back. Your combat strength is indeed strong. Unfortunately, your cultivation is too weak. You are no match for me. Up until now, Yuan Xian's eyes finally revealed a glimmer of light. Boom. Chapter 2104. Yuan Xian's aura suddenly skyrocketed, turning into a terrifying howl that swept across the sky. Emperor's aura. Martial Emperor realm. Yuan Xian's cultivation had broken through to the Martial Emperor realm. The spectators around the fighting platform were shocked. They had heard that Yuan Xian had gone into seclusion to break through to the Martial Emperor realm. They had not expected him to succeed and become an emperor. Once he had confirmed his Tao and become an emperor, he would be on a completely different level. Every aspect of him would undergo a metamorphosis and be greatly improved. The Sacred Heart began to evolve into a small world with an endless lifespan. As long as he could survive the tribulation of heaven and earth, he would have the same lifespan as heaven and earth. This was an extreme metamorphosis. A boundary emperor was still a martial sage or a martial sage. After confirming one's Tao and becoming an emperor, one would be a martial emperor. Yuan Xian has confirmed his Tao and become an emperor. This is too shocking. His combat strength was already invincible. Now that he has confirmed his Tao and become an emperor, who can be his match? He is going to sweep through everyone. He might not be. I heard that Destiny's Child has already become an emperor. There might be other geniuses who have also become emperors. Some people discussed, but they were still shocked. Becoming an emperor at such a young age was unimaginable in the past. Vast emperor's aura spread out from Yuan Xian's body, shocking everyone. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Looks like I have to expose my identity, Lu Ming thought. Yuan Xian had already become an emperor, and his combat strength would skyrocket. He had to do his best to fight him. In this way, he would expose his identity. He did not want to expose himself now. After all, many people wanted to kill him. If he exposed himself now, he might implicate Lu Xiangxiang and the others. Although the Battle of 10 Earths had already begun, and they would naturally be protected by various experts, it was better to be safe than sorry. Lu Ming did not have the ability to protect himself against high-level illusionary emperors, let alone true emperors and great emperors. If the Heavenly Emperor's physical body had sufficient energy, Lu Ming would not have so many scruples. Now was not the time yet. However, facing Yuan Xian, who had become an emperor, he had no other choice but to fight with all his might. Ha ha ha, Yuan Xian, you have become an emperor. That's great. Kill that kid. Mu Yang laughed excitedly. At the same time, he used all his strength to heal himself. The injuries on his body healed quickly. He then turned his gaze to Lu Xiangxiang and the others. As long as his injuries were healed, he would make Lu Xiangxiang and the others pay the price. Bang! At this moment, Yuan Xian took a step forward, causing the entire battle stage to tremble. A terrifying aura, like 10,000 layers of waves, rushed towards Lu Ming. Break! Lu Ming struck out with a palm, breaking apart Yuan Xian's aura. Stubborn resistance. Yuan Xian coldly spoke. His figure was tall and straight, and right now, he was exuding boundless emperor might. He was even more dignified, as if he was an ancient emperor who was walking in the world of mortals. My hair. At this moment, a Buddhist chant rang out. A monk walked over with a smile on his face. With every step he took, a golden lotus would appear beneath his feet. An incomparably powerful aura also emanated from his body, pressing down on Yuan Xian. This monk was naturally heartless. However, to Lu Ming's astonishment, Wu Liang's aura was clearly that of a martial monarch. Monk Wu Liang had already achieved the martial monarch realm. Even with Lu Ming's wisdom, he could not help but be stunned. This unreliable monk had already achieved the martial monarch realm. An uproar took place around the battle stage. Many people were astounded. Another martial monarch at such a young age had appeared. It was truly astonishing. Yuan Xian's eyes flickered with a stern look as he glanced at Wu Liang and said, "You want to fight me? If you let him go, I won't fight you." Wu Liang pointed at Lu Ming. At this instant, Wu Liang's figure was emitting a golden glow. A Bodhi glow appeared behind his head as he placed his palms together in a dignified manner, like a virtuous monk. "Do you know him?" Yuan Xian asked. "I don't know him, but he helped those two kids just then." Wu Liang pointed at Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli and said, "Their master is Lu Ming. To be honest, Lu Ming and I came from the same place. He's my underling. Do you understand now?" Monk Wu Liang said in a serious tone. Lu Ming's face darkened when he heard the last part. Since when had he become Wu Liang's underling? Longchen was left speechless. He and Monk Wu Liang were old acquaintances. Although Wu Liang's cultivation had shocked him, his ability to boast left him speechless. "Let's fight then." Yuan Xian was straightforward as he stepped forward toward Monk Wu Liang. Bang! His aura burst out and shook the heavens and earth. He threw a punch forward, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. My hair. Monk Wu Liang uttered a chant as his figure emitted a golden glow. 100-meter-tall golden Buddha appeared behind him. It reached out a golden palm and threw a punch at Yuan Xian. Bang! There was an earth-shattering explosion as terrifying energy swept out. Everyone nearby was sent flying. Even Lu Ming took 2 steps back. The law of cause and effect. Wu Liang has also mastered the law of cause and effect. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Monk Wu Liang must have had a fortuitous encounter after coming to Yuan continent. Or perhaps he was talented and had not been fully discovered in the Divine Wilderness continent. Chaotic Divine Fist. Yuan Xian roared as his aura became stronger. He was like an invincible god of war as he charged toward Monk Wu Liang. Golden Buddha body. Monk Wu Liang put his palms together and murmured. Behind him, the gigantic Buddha golden body turned into a beam of golden light and flew into his body. His body shone brightly with golden light. Even his skin had turned golden, making him look like a golden man. He used the great Buddha palm print and attacked Yuan Xian. Bang! Bang! The two of them clashed continuously and fought fiercely on the fighting stage. Sometimes they were in the east, sometimes they were in the west. Many people were hit by the shockwaves of their battle, and were either severely injured or thrown off the fighting stage. Suddenly, a large number of people were thrown off the fighting stage. Some powerful skyprides such as Yu He and the Ancient Demon also used their movement techniques to dodge. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had his eyes on Mu Yang. It was good that Wu Liang had attacked. At least he did not have to expose himself for the time being. Mu Yang's face was ghastly pale. He originally thought that Yuan Xian could kill Lu Ming. He did not expect Wu Liang to appear out of nowhere. Wu Liang's combat strength was so strong that he could compete with Yuan Xian. Now Lu Ming had his eyes on him. This made him extremely depressed and he could only run away. Where are you running to? Why don't you get off the fighting stage yourself? Lu Ming chased after Mu Yang and sneered. Mu Yang gritted his teeth. He was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He had been flashing around the edge of the fighting stage. If there was no other way, he would really jump off the fighting stage. After all, compared to opportunities, his life was more important. All right, the battle is over. Everyone stop. At this moment, the middle-aged great emperor arrived above the fighting stage. His powerful aura spread out and made everyone stop. Chapter 2105. It's over. Lu Ming looked around and realized that there were not many people left on the fighting stage. Including him, there were exactly 80 people left. Lu Ming was speechless. He had let Mu Yang escape because of his carelessness. It's over. Ha ha, it's over. Mu Yang was overjoyed. He had finally made it to the end, and became the last 80 people to obtain an opportunity. When I break through to the martial emperor realm, I will cut you into 8 pieces. Mu Yang stared at Lu Ming and roared in his heart. You're lucky. Lu Ming curled his lips and looked at the remaining people. Bubbles Lu Xiang, Ouyang Moli, Chiu Autumn Moon, Huang Ling Longchen, Ouyang Wushuang, Luo Xiang and Luo Tianyi had all successfully stayed on the fighting stage. Other than Lu Xiang and Ouyang Moli, the others had all reached the boundary emperor realm. Moreover, they were in groups of 3. Unless they were targeted by the heavenly children, it would not be difficult for them to last until the end. All right, the 80 of you have passed the selection. Now I will let you rest for a while. After that, follow me. There is a great opportunity waiting for you. The middle-aged great emperor announced. The 80 people on the fighting stage were naturally overjoyed. However, those who had been eliminated sighed and were unwilling to accept it. On the fighting stage, some of the injured people sat down cross-legged and began to heal their injuries. Big brother, thank you for your help. Xiang, Ouyang Moli and the others walked over and cupped their fists at Lu Ming to express their gratitude. You're welcome. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Of course, his voice had also changed. Chiu Moon looked at Lu Ming curiously. She felt that Lu Ming looked familiar. This was her intuition. Soon after, Long Chun, Huang Ling, Huang Li and the others also walked over and expressed their gratitude to Lu Ming. Lu Ming originally wanted to introduce himself to them. However, after thinking about it, he held back. It would not be too late to do so later. And me fa Longchen, long time no see. Monk Wuyang walked over with a smile. Wuchen and Wuyue were with him. Wuchen's cultivation was at the peak of the quasi-emperor realm. He controlled the laws and was extremely powerful. He was a top-notch genius. Moonless was slightly weaker. Although he also had the cultivation of a quasi-emperor, he only had a king body. Wuliang, it's been so many years. I didn't expect you to have become a martial monarch. Longchen also greeted Wu Liang. Haha, let me tell you, I'm the reincarnation of a Buddha god, a man destined to fight at the peak. Back in the divine wilderness continent, I wasn't your match because I didn't discover my potential. Now whether it's you or Lu Ming, none of you are my match. Monk Wuliang laughed out loud, and was extremely pleased with himself. Humph, if my master was here, you would definitely not be his match. Xiang Xiang was displeased when she heard the unscrupulous person belittling Lu Ming. At the mention of Lu Ming, everyone fell silent. How was he now? Don't worry, Lu Ming is an old fox. He's very shrewd and won't die so easily. Other than me, who can barely suppress him, no one is his match. Monk Wuliang said. Lu Ming's eyelids twitched. Was this guy praising him or belittling him? Why did it sound so uncomfortable? Xiang Xiang and Ouyang Moli glared at Wuliang. If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't defeat him, they would have beaten him up. Whoosh. At this moment, Bubble's figure suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Lu Ming. Her big eyes blinked as she looked at Lu Ming curiously. After not seeing her for a few years, Bubble still looked like a 2 or 3-year-old, as if she would never grow up. However, her cultivation had progressed rapidly, and she was about to break through to the martial monarch realm. Your brother Lu Ming. Bubble suddenly spoke. Of course, Bubble was transmitting her voice and no one else heard it. Lu Ming touched his nose. As expected, he couldn't hide it from Bubble. The top 10 battle beasts were no small matter. Bubble, it's me. Don't tell anyone for the time being. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bubble. I knew you weren't dead. Bubble transmitted her voice and her big eyes were filled with joy. Then, she ran to Xiang Xiang's shoulder and sat down. Let's rest for a while, Luo Tianyi said. Everyone was exhausted from the battle just now. Everyone sat down cross-legged and started to rest. Not far away, Mu Yang glanced at Lu Xiang Xiang and the others from time to time, revealing a sinister look. He was thinking of a vicious plan. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with killing intent. He was afraid that if his identity was exposed, Mu Yang would do something that would endanger Lu Xiang Xiang and the others. He seriously suspected that the assassins from the Nation of Death were hired by Mu Yang. Soon, a day passed and everyone was almost done resting. Come with me, the middle-aged martial monarch ordered, and led everyone to the center of Destiny City. The others also followed. They were very curious as to what the so-called opportunity was. Soon, a majestic mountain appeared in front of them. This mountain was so majestic and tall that it pierced the sky. This was Destiny Mountain, known as the most majestic mountain in Destiny City. Legend had it that it was connected to the sky and could lead to the heavenly world. Everyone landed on the Mountain of Destiny. They realized that there were already many people on Destiny Mountain. Is the Southern War Zone done as well? A beautiful middle-aged woman looked in his direction. You're from the Eastern War Zone, but you're fast. The middle-aged martial monarch smiled and greeted her. Obviously, the other party was from the Eastern War Zone. They had also selected 80 top geniuses. The geniuses from both sides sized each other up. Eternal Star River. Lu Ming saw Eternal Star River among the 80 geniuses from the Eastern War Zone. No wonder he hadn't seen him before. He had gone to the Eastern War Zone. Alright, you guys can rest here. When the time comes, the opportunity will naturally appear. The middle-aged martial monarch said. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They were all guessing what the so-called opportunity was. It could actually help people become martial monarchs. Everyone was excited. Everyone waited here. 1 day later, the geniuses from the Northern War Zone arrived. 2 days later, the geniuses from the Western War Zone arrived. More and more people gathered near the Mountain of Destiny, filling up the sky. At the highest point, There were many figures covered in divine light. Their faces couldn't be seen clearly, but each of them gave off a boundless and unfathomable feeling. Martial monarchs. Everyone's heart trembled. They knew that these people who stood high up and were shrouded in divine light were all great emperors. They might not necessarily be martial monarchs from the divine fate land. There might be martial monarchs from other regions. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Suddenly, a ray of light bloomed in the sky. Then this ray of light became brighter and brighter. "It's here," said a martial monarch. Everyone's spirits were shaken as they looked into the depths of the sky. "It's here? What's here?" Everyone was curious. Rumble. The sky trembled. Following which, the crowd saw a path extending all the way toward them. It was an ancient bluestone path that was mottled with time. Chapter 2106. Deep in the sky, a road had appeared and extended downwards, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Where did this road come from? Or rather, where did it lead to? Was the so-called opportunity related to this road? The crowd looked carefully and realized that there was an end to the road. At the end of the road, there was a door of light. They wondered where the door led to. "Everyone, let me tell you what the opportunity is." At this moment, a white-haired elder stepped out from the sky. He was obviously a great emperor, and a very powerful one at that. "The end of this road leads to a corner of the world." Why is it called a corner of the world? That's because that corner of the world was separated from the primordial realm when it first opened. It still retains the scene of the primordial realm when it first opened. Over there, the laws are extremely clear and the innate origin chi is rich. Regardless of whether one cultivates the laws or the archaic system, one's cultivation speed will be astonishingly fast there. The white-haired great emperor said. There was an uproar at the scene. It was actually a corner of the world when the primordial realm first opened. It still retained the scene of the primordial realm when it first opened. It was definitely an unimaginable opportunity for cultivation. Opportunity, it was really a great opportunity. Countless people's eyes were burning with passion, including those martial emperors. To cultivate to the martial emperor realm, one had to evolve a small world. Entering the corner of the world when the primordial realm first opened was definitely a great improvement and promotion for the evolution of a small world. It was no wonder that those who entered had a great chance of breaking through to the martial emperor realm. This corner of the world was obtained by an almighty from the void. This time, it's used as a reward for the geniuses who passed the selection. However, this corner of the world is not big after all and has been here for too long. It's very useful for those below the martial emperor realm or low-level illusionary emperors. If one's cultivation is higher, it won't be of much use. The white-haired elder explained once again, causing many martial emperors to sigh. Go in. You only have 2 years in there. 2 years later, that almighty will send you out. How much you can gain in there depends on yourselves. 2 years later, the battle of the 10 earths will truly begin. The white-haired great emperor announced. 2 years, they had 2 years. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He had to make good use of these 2 years. Now let's go along this ancient road. The white-haired great emperor said. Whoosh, whoosh. Following the white-haired martial monarch's words, several figures stepped onto the ancient path and proceeded upward. Let's go too. On the autumn moon, Lu Xiangxiang and the others also set foot on the ancient road. Xinghe, Yuan Xian Muyang, and the others also stepped onto the ancient path and headed into the depths of the sky. The person at the front had already reached the end. He stepped into the door of light and disappeared. All around, countless people were extremely envious. This was especially so for the young geniuses. Their eyes were burning with passion, but there was nothing they could do. This was a great opportunity. They knew that this batch of 320 people would definitely become stronger after 2 years. The gap between them and these people would widen even further. The strong would always be strong. However, no one dared to sneak in. With so many great emperors here, it was impossible to sneak in. Lu Ming also stepped onto the ancient path, ascending step by step. Soon, Lu Ming reached the end of the ancient path and arrived at the door of light. Without hesitation, Lu Ming stepped in. Following this, the 320 geniuses stepped into the glowing door and disappeared into it. At this moment, the ancient path began to retract and enter the door of light. Following that, the door of light also disappeared in the air. Senior, I wonder which powerful figure obtained this corner of the world? Someone asked. Some of the powerful figures were thinking that if they could pay a visit to this powerful figure and let some of their juniors enter to cultivate, the benefits would be great. He's from the heavenly realm, the white-haired great emperor said. Everyone shut up. It was actually a powerful figure from the heavenly realm. At the same time, everyone was secretly shocked. Could it be that a powerful figure from the heavenly realm was paying attention to the Battle of 10 Earths this time? Everyone come back in 2 years, the white-haired great emperor said. Then he took a step forward and left. 2 years later, who will rise and fall? Someone whispered. They were looking forward to it. Then, everyone dispersed, and the vicinity of the Mountain of Destiny returned to silence. After Lu Ming stepped into the door of light, the world spun, and in the next moment, he found himself on a protruding rock. What a strong pressure! As soon as he appeared, Lu Ming could feel endless pressure coming toward him from all directions. It was as if there were hundreds of mountains pressing down on him at all times. Bang! Lu Ming tried to take a step forward, and the ground rumbled. Lu Ming's body was as heavy as a mountain. Is this the corner of the world that the primordial realm first opened? Lu Ming whispered and looked around. What greeted his eyes was an endless stretch of rocks. There were rocks everywhere, and the ground was bare. There was no vegetation at all, and there were no living creatures either. A desolate, ancient aura swept across the place. Moreover, Lu Ming discovered that the connate origin energy here was unimaginably rich. As he inhaled and exhaled, dense Xiantian origin energy turned into beams of light that shot into his mouth. Also, Lu Ming felt that the laws here were extremely clear. When he spread out his spiritual sense, it was as if his body was bathed in endless laws. Lu Ming channeled his sacred power into his eyes and was shocked. At this moment, everything in front of Lu Ming's eyes changed. Between heaven and earth, there were tiny ribbons swimming, emitting all kinds of light. It was as if thousands of thin ribbons formed this world. Those were the threads of laws, which could only be formed when the laws were clear and rich to the extreme. The world at the beginning of heaven and earth. This is the world at the beginning of heaven and earth. Lu Ming muttered to himself, his eyes full of surprise. Legend had it that when heaven and earth first opened and all things evolved, the cultivation environment at that time was the best. The laws were clear, and the connate origin energy was rich. Cultivating would be much faster. The middle-aged great emperor was right. This was an opportunity. If a quasi-emperor cultivator cultivated here, their chances of becoming an emperor would definitely be greatly increased. However, when heaven and earth first opened, it was like a desolate world. The pressure between heaven and earth is too great. Lu Ming sighed. He couldn't fly here at all. Not to mention flying. Even walking for a while would probably exhaust the sacred power in his body. The best way was to stay where he was and cultivate quietly. In fact, almost everyone who came in was like this. They all sat cross-legged and cultivated quietly. This was a rare opportunity. They only had 2 years, so they naturally had to cherish it. Chapter 2107. Lu Ming cleared his mind and began to comprehend the primal chaos law. Suddenly, he felt that the primal chaos law between heaven and earth was much clearer than the outside world. With a thought, the primal chaos law between heaven and earth flew toward Lu Ming and surrounded Lu Ming. From the outside, Lu Ming's body was covered in a layer of light, holy and unparalleled. Lu Ming felt that his understanding of the primal chaos law was constantly deepening. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Boom! Lu Ming's aura suddenly erupted and rose. The primal chaos law roared and filled Lu Ming's body. With a thought, the primal chaos law between heaven and earth was easily controlled by Lu Ming. It formed the shape of a river and circled around Lu Ming. The primal chaos law had become a river. The primal chaos law had finally broken through its shackles and reached the perfect stage, forming the shape of a river. When the primal chaos law became a river, It did not mean that the primal chaos law actually became a river. With a thought, the primal chaos law would condense together like a river. Then the primal chaos law continued to pour into Lu Ming's body, helping Lu Ming to refine his body and saint power. Last time, when the primal chaos law had reached perfection, Lu Ming already had experience. This time, it was a walk in the park. 2 days later, Lu Ming's aura completely stabilized. My strength and saint power have both skyrocketed. Lu Ming carefully sensed the changes in his body and revealed a look of joy. The strongest primal chaos law had become a river. Stepping into the boundary emperor realm, the refinement of the body and saint power was much stronger than the primal chaos law. Last time, when the primal chaos law had broken through, his body and saint power had also improved. But this time, the improvement was even greater. In his dantian, the saint heart was crystal clear and filled with endless saint power. As the saint heart spun, endless saint power poured into his meridians like a river. There was a faint glow circulating in Lu Ming's body. It was filled with endless power. Powerful. Too powerful. Lu Ming felt that his combat strength had skyrocketed again. Now, let's begin to comprehend the death law and devour law. Lu Ming looked expectant. If the death precepts and the devouring precepts were both perfected, how strong would his body and saint power be? Lu Ming was filled with anticipation and began to comprehend. This world was indeed blessed by the heavens in terms of comprehension of laws. It was much faster than the outside world. Not only that, but this piece of heaven and earth was left behind when the primordial realm was first formed. It was of great help to the evolution of a small world. However, Lu Ming had not reached the stage of breaking through to martial emperor yet. Cultivation knew no time. Under Lu Ming's single-minded cultivation, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, another half a year had passed. In half a year, Lu Ming had successfully cultivated the death law and the devouring law to 99% completion. This speed was already astonishingly fast. In the outside world, it would take at least 5 years to achieve such a feat. However, after raising it to 99%, it would be very difficult to cultivate it to perfection in one go. It would take time to accumulate. At that moment, Lu Ming began to think. He wanted to cultivate other nomological laws. What law should I cultivate? Lu Ming frowned and thought carefully. After all, he could cultivate many kinds of laws. When the laws were combined, it would greatly increase his strength. Moreover, comprehending the laws in this world was too fast. He did not want to miss it. He wanted to comprehend other laws. The law of force. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming decided to cultivate the law of force. The law of force was the ultimate power. It would allow his every strike to carry a terrifying force. Moreover, Long Chun and Huang Li both cultivated the law of force. Lu Ming had sparred with Long Chun and Huang Li many times. He had a better understanding of the law of force. It would be easier for him to comprehend it. Moreover, as more laws were perfected, Lu Ming's body and saint power would become stronger. In addition to the law of chaos, which was as heavy as a mountain, his attacks would become more ferocious and overbearing. If he added the law of force, his attacks would be even more terrifying. Lu Ming began to seriously comprehend the law of force. This world was indeed different. In just a few days, Lu Ming felt that he had grasped the knack of it. He became more serious in comprehending it. More than 10 days later, Lu Ming really did comprehend the law of force. When he threw a punch, it carried the power of the limit. Its power was shocking. From then on, he comprehended the law of death, the law of devouring, and the law of force at the same time. He alternated between comprehending each for a few days. In this way, another 3 months passed. The law of devouring was finally perfected. The law of force formed a river. Lu Ming's body and saint power were greatly strengthened again. 3 months after the breakthrough of the law of devouring, Lu Ming had been here for more than a year. The law of death had also broken through. The law of force formed a river and reached perfection. His body and saint power were once again tempered. Now Lu Ming felt that his saint power was surging. It was terrifyingly powerful. His physical body was filled with explosive power. He felt that he could now destroy a 1-star martial emperor with just the power of his body. This was not an illusion. He was really too strong. Lu Ming did not know how strong he was now. The 4 laws were all perfected. The law of force formed a river. 2 supreme laws and 2 monarch laws. His body and saint power had been tempered 4 times. The power of the 4 perfected laws was absolutely terrifying. In addition, Lu Ming had also cultivated the law of force to an extremely high level. He was not far from the law of force formed a river. When Lu Ming had been here for a year and 3 months, his law of force had also broken through and reached perfection. Lu Ming's combat strength skyrocketed again. Bam! Bam! Lu Ming cast the Chaos Divine Palm and moved freely. The 5 types of laws merged, and there was a rumbling explosion in heaven and earth. It was as if a large bell was vibrating and was about to explode. Awesome, awesome. After a long time, Lu Ming stopped and let out a long breath. His eyes were shining. The pressure of this world was incomparably great. However, Lu Ming's body was now too strong. He felt that he did not need saint power. He could withstand it with his body and travel far away. This was definitely not something an ordinary person could do. The perfected laws don't seem to be the true perfected laws. Then Lu Ming considered the problem of the laws. He had comprehended 5 laws in a row. He realized that the so-called perfected laws were only at a certain stage. It was not the end and he could continue to break through. In fact, he had heard Uncle Kong mention that the laws were the foundation of the world. They were very profound and were far from simple. The so-called perfected laws of quasi-emperors were only the first stage of perfection. The comprehension of the laws was divided into several stages. However, it was very difficult to break through. Ordinary void emperors would find it difficult to break through. However, Lu Ming only thought about it for a while and did not think about it. He was still some distance away from breaking through to Martial Emperor. I have already been here for a year and 3 months. There is not much time left. I will not comprehend the other laws for now. I will consolidate the 5 laws and reach the stage where I can break through to Martial Emperor as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.